There, good morning children. Today we are going to proceed our third online science session with your third chapter, Separation of Substances. Children, in your early classes you could have studied about the meaning of separation, the need of separation. In this chapter we are going to discuss about the various methods used in the separation of substances. First we'll go with what is mixture. What is a mixture, children? See, a mixture contains two or more substances that can be separated easily. For example, if you want to prepare a fruit salad, we used to mix various fruits together in a salad also form a mixture. The substance that makes up a mixture, we call it as its components. So the components of a salad could be your grapes, orange, pomegranate, banana and so on. Next, we'll go with your methods of separation. First, we'll go with the separating solids from solids. First is your handpicking. See, handpicking is the simplest method of separating a substance. It involves picking out the impurities such as stones, broken grains or insects by hand. Stones are removed from pulses or rice by handpicking. Next is your threshing. See children, the farmers after harvesting the crops, they used to separate their grains from their stalks. That is what we call it as a threshing. Usually threshing is done in three ways. One by manual method, next using the animals, and your third method using machineries. Threshing done by machines, we call it as threshers. After threshing, the threshed grains still they contains the chaff. What do you mean by chaff, children? It is a mixing of dry leaves, stem and seed covering. These need to be removed before the grain is ground to make a flour. So this is done by the next process called winnowing. Children, see the picture. When the mixture of wheat grains and husk is drawn from a certain height, the wheat grains being heavier fall vertically down to form a heap. Husk being lighter is carried by the wind and forms a separate heap at a distance. So the process of separating the lighter particle from the heavier ones with the help of wind, we call it as winnowing. Your next method is your sieving. Usually this method is commonly used at homes. For what purpose we are using at home? To separate wheat bran from flour. The method of separating particles of different size using a sieve, we call it as a sieving. Next is your magnetic separation. See children, if any iron particle dropped on pulses or cereals, what you will be doing? You will be separating the ions with the help of magnet, because the iron pieces are get attracted by the magnet. Here we have taken sulfur iron fillings. When we mixed both, we are going to separate the iron fillings with the help of a magnet. That is what we call it as magnetic separation. Next is separating solids from liquids. Under this, first we'll go with your sedimentation process. For this process, first we have to take a glass beaker. Put some sand inside the glass beaker. Pour some water. Keep for some time. You can see that the sand, being a heavier particle, it settled down at the bottom of a beaker. The liquid will be at the top layer of the particle. So the particle which settled at the bottom, we call it as a sediment. The above liquid, we call it as a supernatant. So the process of pouring the liquid to separate the supernatant from the sediment, we call it as decantation. Next is your filtration. See, at your home, when your mother is preparing a tea, after preparing a tea, she used to stain the tea so that will get a clear solution in the flask and the residue will be there in the stainer. So the filtration is a method used for separating fine insoluble solid particles from the liquid using a filtering device. So this can be done in the laboratories using a funnel and a filter paper. Next is your vaporization. For your vaporization, the best example is seawater. See, the seawater is collected in a shallow pit. Due to the heatness of sun, what happens? The seawater gets evaporated. We'll get only the salt in the shallow pit. So the evaporation of liquid into gas, we call it as vaporization. That is the process of converting a liquid into a gas, we call it as vaporization. Next is your condensation. For your condensation, the best example is your water cycle. Yes, have you learned about your water cycle, children? Yes, in your water cycle what happens? Due to the heatness of sun, the seawater gets evaporated and it gets condensed into a cloud, which is then precipitated as a rain. So the process of converting a gas into a liquid, we call it as condensation. Next is your separation of two immiscible liquids. See, liquids that do not dissolve in each other, we call it as immiscible liquids. How come we are going to separate these immiscible liquids? We are going to separate these two immiscible liquids using a separating funnel. We have to take the mixture of liquids in a separating funnel. Shake the funnel well and keep for some time. Since water is lighter than oil, it will be settled down at the bottom. The oil will float on the water. So when you open the knob of your separating funnel, the water will come down. The liquid, that is your oil, will stay at the top of a separating funnel. This is how we are going to separate the immiscible liquid using your separating funnel. Next is your solutions and solubility. See, children, if you want to prepare a salt solution or a sugar solution, what you will be doing? First, we will be taking the sugar and then we'll be adding a water. Stir well until the sugar molecules dissolve in your water. So your sugar solution is ready now. So the substance that get dissolves in a liquid, we call it as a solute. That is your sugar. The substance in which the solute dissolves is called your solvent, which is your water. So now we got a sugar solution which is homogeneous in nature. So solute plus solvent will get a solution. See, if you go with your solution, there are two types of solution. One is your saturated solution. Next is your unsaturated solution. In your saturated solution, a solution in which no more solute can be added. In your unsaturated solution, in which more solute can be dissolved. That is what the difference between your saturated solution and your unsaturated solution. Next we'll go with your solubility. What do you mean by the term solubility? It is the maximum amount of solute that can be dissolved in a certain amount of solvent or solution. We call it as a solubility of a solute. Next is your factors affecting the solubility of your solute. Under this, we are having four factors. First is your temperature. Under your temperature, heating the solution increases the solubility of your solute. When you are mixing or stirring, it increases the solubility. It allows the solute to dissolve faster. Next is your size of your solute. When the solute dissolves faster, when it is broken down into your smaller pieces. Next is your quantity of a solvent. It increases the quantity of solvent in a solution. It allows more solute to be added in it, and thus it increases the solubility of your solute. That's about the chapter, children. Next we'll meet in your next chapter. Thank you.